All right, so how many Canadian police does it take to arrest a pastor? Stick around to the end of this Viva on the Street update for the answer to that riddle. It's not really a riddle, it's just a sad joke, and the punchline is actually Canada. This is not so much a Viva on the Street update, it's Viva on a bench. People have been asking for proof of life of Pudge. She's alive, she's well, she's actually lost quite a bit of weight, if you can see on the side. But yeah, I haven't been doing the Viva on the Street updates with her at night because she's still heavy and I still have to carry her around. You've all been hitting up my DMs, email, Twitter, YouTube comments. Yes, I know. Artur Pawlowski has been arrested in Alberta. He is now the second pastor in Canada to be arrested for holding church services in violation of health guidelines. The second pastor, the first was Pastor James Coates from the Grace Life Church in Alberta. And now Canada has made a name for itself because we were actually featured on the front page of Fox News with the wonderful image of, I don't know how many police showed up to arrest Artur Pawlowski and his brother David Pawlowski for violating public health orders. Now, a bit of a context, because this is not just about jumping on the news and exploiting it. We need to explain what's going on so people understand. The context. We all know who Artur Pawlowski is. He is a pastor in Alberta who has been holding, who has been holding services, notwithstanding orders notwithstanding the fact that his services are not respecting the health guidelines of social distancing, maximum occupancy. So he's been holding church services for many, many months now, notwithstanding the fact that they're not compliant with these public health orders. The first video of Artur that went viral was him shouting, get out," among other things, which I won't repeat for the purposes of this Viva on the Street. But it was Artur telling the cops to get out of his church, get out, and it went viral. And at the time I said, it's great, they listened. My fear at the time, as I expressed it at the time, was that they're just going to come back with a vengeance, which they did. There was a second video where they came back, one person who seemed to work for public health or whatever it is, coming with 5 armed security guards. And there's some discussion as to whether or not they were police guards or whatever subdivisions of government they belonged to, such that there weren't necessarily police, but they were just armed security, whatever. 5 armed security with a public health officer who just wanted to give Artur a document. And this is where it gets interesting, and this is how it leads into his arrest just today. This person showed up a second time after the first video went viral and said that she had a document. She just wanted to explain it to Artur, and he said, "You cannot come in here. I don't care for your document. Come back, schedule an appointment," etc., etc. And she said, "I just want to explain to you what's in this document." And he says, "I don't care. I don't want to know. I don't want it. Take it away and go away." And they did. Only to come back, but this time to arrest him as he was driving home from services. I guess it was today or yesterday. I'm not sure exactly when this video occurred, but I think it was today. No, it was yesterday. What am I talking about? It was yesterday, because today I'm just reading up all the comments from the live stream last night, where people were saying, during the live stream that I did with Robert Barnes last night on a Saturday, everyone's like, "Have you heard that Artur Pawlowski has been arrested?" And I said, "Yeah, I heard. And this is how." So that second visit where the nice lady with, I think she had an Irish accent, which I found odd because one of the other officers had a British accent, which I thought was weird, but whatever, came to serve some papers on Artur. She just wanted to explain to him what was in the papers. I don't know this for a fact, but this is my understanding of the situation. Those papers were something of an injunction from the court enjoining, that is to say, prohibiting Artur Pawlowski from holding church services in his church. It's an order of the court. They got an order of the court, presumably, to prohibit Artur Pawlowski from holding church services in violation of the health guidelines that he was not respecting in the first place. Refusing to accept service of the document doesn't necessarily mean that you were not properly served with the document. And by all accounts, he continued to do that which was apparently prohibited by these court proceedings or documents that were attempted to be served on him, such that by failing to comply with those documents, it caused him to be in violation of a court order, which could allow for his arrest, among other things. And that seems to be exactly what happened. Now, it's not just that this is all shocking from beginning to end, because religious or not, at some point, some of you are going to say rules are the rules and just follow the rules. Religious people don't get special exemption, even if one were to agree with that. Yes, religious people don't get special exemption. We have a charter of human rights. We have a constitution which places a specific degree of value on freedom of religion. And those of you who say just follow the rules, you can practice your religion the way you want, just not in person. So do it by Zoom. You'll have church service by Zoom, and that's good enough. I appreciate some people feel that way. I can understand people who feel that way. I don't necessarily know that I agree that that's what the Constitution meant by freedom of religion. Nor do I think that that is what the Constitution meant by freedom of association or right to protest. You can protest by Zoom. You can't protest in person. You can't gather the way you otherwise could previously. You don't have the right to associate the way you typically did, but you can associate by Zoom, you can protest by Zoom, you can practice religion by Zoom, you can exercise your constitutional rights by Zoom. Yeah, no, not in my personal opinion, not in my professional opinion, if I were ever to argue a case like this. So what ended up happening is Artur, who refused service of those documents, ultimately, I guess he got a warrant for his arrest. And on his way back from church yesterday, was pulled over. By my count, and I'll flash an image just so you can all see, by my count, I saw at least 4, 5 police cars. Obviously more police people because there's more than one person per car. And they pulled him over and arrested him and his brother in the middle of what seems to be a busy highway, or at the very least a busy 4-lane road. So maybe it's not the 401, which is the highway in Toronto for anyone who's never been there. They pulled him over and had him on his knees in the middle of a busy street, where they proceeded to handcuff him and literally carry him off like, I don't want to use inflammatory analogies, but an animal on a stick that's getting ready to go into a fire, literally by the hands and the legs where he's cuffed, hauling him off. Now, admittedly, Artur possibly deliberately put himself in the position where it would look dramatic when he were arrested, because it's dramatic that a second pastor in free Canada is now being arrested for nothing else than practicing one's religion, notwithstanding the fact that they are, by the edicts, practicing their religion in violation of public health orders, public health edicts. Edicts, incidentally, which were issued in virtue of a law, but themselves never actually went through any legislative process, and are just quite literally almost sovereign edicts issued by a government that has not held itself to be accountable to the electors, held itself accountable to the citizens, that have just been passing one edict after another routinely and consistently over the last 14 months. So appreciate that for what it's worth, because that's what it is. These are edicts that are issued in virtue of health laws, the Public Health Act, which themselves have never gone through any legislative process. It is just politicians issuing these edicts one after the other and making it the law. So they pull him over. There's a video which I'm also going to show a clip of, just so that you can appreciate what actually went down. And they put him on his knees in the middle of a busy highway, cuff him in a very dramatic fashion, haul him off in a car in a very dramatic fashion, and his brother. And this is Canada. This is Canada, where, as I mentioned in the last Viva on the Street update, 3 years ago, Jason Kenney was praising people who formed a human shield around a church, and 3 years later is barricading a church in Alberta and locking up pastors. And for anybody who's saying all they have to do is follow the health orders, this is a risk for everyone around them, if statistics mean anything anymore, if actual fact means anything anymore, at the very least with Pastor James Coates, I believe it's at most one person fell ill with COVID in the church in the months that they were defying health orders. At Artur Pawlowski's church, I don't know of anybody that has fallen ill. So if statistics and actual facts are the issue, it's hard to justify what's going on based on these statistics, at the very least, of this particular church. But people are going to say, well, it's a community thing. We have to all be in this together, and we can't just have everybody willy-nilly refusing to respect the rules, just follow the rules. If we've gotten to that, where it's just follow the rules, and just follow the rules which themselves are fundamentally unconstitutional and violate the very basic core values of our society, I appreciate people say follow the rules. And while I will never encourage anyone to not follow the rules, I can certainly understand how someone like Artur Pawlowski, where's this dog, finds it more valuable to not follow the rules and be arrested in dramatic fashion, in a fashion that makes Canada look not like the home of the free, but a tyranny that would put the likes of Russia, China, and North Korea to shame. And I can appreciate the fact that he feels compelled to follow his beliefs to the point where he is arrested in such dramatic fashion in a video that will invariably make its way across international news networks, as it has. We're on Fox News. We're front page Fox News, all for the wrong reasons. And I have no doubt that Artur Pawlowski wanted to make a point of his arrest, and he did, because he quite literally made a point of his arrest that we are living in a country that, by our Prime Minister's own account, doesn't care for the Constitution anymore. We're not having that conversation.
I can understand some people are looking for constitutional conversations. I'm not going to engage in those right now. I am focused on getting us through this pandemic.
The Constitution is an impediment to the measures that the government wants to implement to combat COVID-19. And if that's cool with you, that's fine. We understand where we disagree. But we have a Constitution, and we have rights, and we have fundamental rights, or we don't. And if we don't, then we are not Canada as we knew it. We are Canada as it's going to be, which is going to be a Canada that any other free nation in the world is going to laugh at and judge, and rightly so. So Artur Pawlowski he's been arrested. As far as I understand, he's still in jail. We'll see how long Artur stays in jail. They kept James Coates in jail for 35 days because he refused to undertake not to hold church services. And I suspect Artur Pawlowski is going to be the same. You know, the amazing thing is, it takes the Larry Flints to protect First Amendment rights. It takes people who are eccentric, like the Larry Flints, to protect the rights of everyone else who is not quite so eccentric and who is not quite so ready to put themselves out there in the proverbial crosshairs to defend not only their rights, but the rights of everyone else. And so everyone else can look out there and say, just be quiet and follow the rules. And it takes the Larry Flints, it takes the James Coates, it takes the Artur Pawlowskis to actually defend the rights of everyone else. And when those rights get trampled on, when it comes to the Larry Flints, the James Coates, the Artur Pawlowskis, they are, in fact, being trampled on for everyone else, and we just don't appreciate it yet. That's the update. We'll see where it goes. I am going to try to get in touch with Artur to discuss with him when he's released from jail. We'll see when that happens. But it just, every video, I say it has to get darker before the silent majority in the middle becomes more vocal in their opposition. And these are the litmus tests. These are the actual, watershed moments where people either stand up and support or they shy away and just hope it's not them next time in the middle of a busy highway being arrested because they failed to respect, or they deliberately refused to respect, some rule, edict that was never legislatively passed, that violates our fundamental core principles of a free country. And but for the grace of God, may it not be them, and nobody's going to have a problem until it is them. Anyhow, all that to say, Pudge is alive and well. Look at that. She's looking good, looking lighter, although she's still exquisitely heavy to carry. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to carry her back to the house right now. That's the update, peeps. Stay well. Peace.
Do it the Nazi style. You're good to stop and do it the Nazi style. Do it the Nazi style. Do it the Nazi style. Do it. The taser me. Kill me. Do it the Nazi style.
guys. This is not communist China. Don't you guys have family and kids?